pushback coming from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. In summary, he is digging in. He is not denying that he shared plans, military plans, on a Signal chat with his wife and brother about an operation to strike Houthis in Yemen. But he is denying that he shared any classified information and saying that no one is texting war plans. He is also slamming the 3 top Pentagon advisors who were just fired amid a leak investigation. Advisors who raised concerns about the department under Hegseth's leadership. The defense secretary, in a new interview just this morning, appears to be directly accusing them of leaking the information and calling them, quote, disgruntled former employees, something one of those now former aides denies.
Did you leak classified information against the wishes of your superiors to media outlets?
Absolutely not.
Did you photograph classified material and then text pictures of that material to an NBC News reporter?
Absolutely not.
And now we are here today. CNN's Natasha Bertrand has the very latest, and Hegseth is now speaking out in probably I would say the fullest comments yet regarding this second Signal scandal. Tell us more of what he's saying.
Kate, he remains extremely defiant, and he is doubling down on the idea that these 3 officials, 2 of whom have been his longtime advisors and friends, were actually leakers, and that in the process of an investigation that has been carried out over the last several weeks inside the Pentagon, it was determined that these individuals were leaking classified or sensitive information. Now, Dan Caldwell, who you just saw in that clip, in the broader interview, he said that none of them had even been polygraphed, and that until the very last day, just hours before they were actually escorted out of the building, they had access still to very sensitive classified information, which raises questions about the kind of probe that was being conducted across the department. Why would these individuals, if they were suspected of leaking classified information and then escorted out of the building, still be able to access that very classified information until just moments before they were ousted? Now, here's a little bit of what Hegseth told Fox, explaining his feeling that these actors are essentially trying to undermine him.
What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations. In this point, those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing. And that's unfortunate. It's not what I do. It's not how we operate. And so you've got another allegation being pushed again, not based on how we're operating around here.
Now, again, this interview was a bit all over the place. On the one hand, he said that the investigation had led to these individuals being escorted out of the building. On the other hand, he said that the investigation could ultimately exonerate them. But one thing is clear, he is using them as a scapegoat for the larger story that has come out over the last day or so about how he did use a second Signal chat to communicate with his wife, his brother, and his lawyer about sensitive military operations, something that we saw him do as well last month in another Signal group chat, and that is now under investigation by the DoD Inspector General. So he remains defiant. President Trump, for now, saying that he stands behind him, but Secretary Hegseth clearly trying to throw these former aides very much under the bus as he seeks to kind of explain away why he was on this Signal chat with this information being shared about very sensitive military operations. Kate.
Natasha Bertrand. Thank you, Natasha. John?
Mark Preston, CNN senior political analyst, joins us now from Washington. Don Bacon, maybe a viewer of Succession, suggesting that the defense secretary is not a serious person, Mark.
Well, I'll tell you what, as you talk about maybe the dam cracking right now, we could be seeing it right now. Don Bacon coming out, the first person really to come out and be critical of Pete Hegseth. But again, it's only 8:03 in the morning on Monday. He's safe right now. But in the world of Donald Trump, you could be gone in a moment. A couple things we need to look at right now, John. We need to look at Republican senators. Will they start to come out and express dissatisfaction? That will be more powerful than a House member. Also, will we see more prominent Republican voices come out and say enough is enough, this is derailing the president's agenda? And really the third thing is, will another shoe drop? And there are folks within the White House that believe that another shoe will drop. When you see smoke, there is certainly fire. So we're waiting for all those things to happen right now. But I will say this, John, he is very lucky that Congress is not in session this week, because the questions he would be facing from reporters right now, and the senators facing questions from reporters, would be nonstop. And I think we would be in a different situation than we are at this moment.
Just want to give reviewers an update on something you just reported. Sources are telling me it is now Tuesday, just so people are aware of that. It has moved to Tuesday, we can now report. But to your point.
Happy Easter Monday.
It is early, and Hegseth will be speaking shortly, so we will hear more, and that could mean even more fallout. Then there's the issue, Mark, of if not Hegseth, who would run the Pentagon? During this whole confirmation battle, the name of Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida was floated. Not so sure that would happen now.
No, I don't think that would happen now either. You know, as much as Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump have made up publicly, there is a little bit of friction there between both camps. Two people to look at, though: Tom Cotton, a senator from Arkansas right there, and as well as Chris Miller.
We're back with an exclusive about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's handling of sensitive information concerning U.S. military operations in Yemen. 3 U.S. officials with direct knowledge tell NBC News the leader of U.S. Central Command had transmitted the plans to Hegseth over a secure government system. And then, within minutes, Hegseth was using his personal phone to send the information to 2 Signal group chats. One of them included his wife and brother. Joining us now, NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube, Charlie Sykes, MSNBC contributor and columnist, and Sabrina Singh, former deputy press secretary at the Pentagon. So, Courtney, what are we hearing from the defense secretary about all of this?
Well, we heard a little bit from him on Fox News this morning. We have not spoken to him or seen him ourselves today, but he addressed this second story broken by the New York Times over the weekend and confirmed by NBC News that, in fact, as you mentioned, Chris, he started a Signal chat, added family members, including his wife and his brother and some of his friends, including his personal attorney, and then he chatted with them. He texted them specific information about a U.S. military operation against the Houthis. He addressed those allegations today, and as he did yesterday, he blamed both the media and people who were recently fired from here at the Pentagon for this information getting out. Here's what he had to say.
What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning. We take the classification of information very important. It's very significant to us that we safeguard it.
And that's one of the similar talking points that we heard the first time that we had reporting from The Atlantic about a Signal group that was created by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and included the Secretary of Defense, where he also texted to these individuals. In this case, it was senior administration officials about an imminent strike and action against the Houthi rebels in Yemen. But what is clear here, according to our new reporting from our colleague Gordon Lubold and I, is that, in fact, the information that Secretary Hegseth was texting in these unclassified Signal chats came directly from the commanding general of U.S. Central Command, General Eric Kurilla. General Kurilla sent that information over a classified system. Secretary Hegseth turned around and literally within minutes was sending it on an unclassified system, that Signal app. Chris.
Thank you so much for that, Courtney. So, Sabrina, as someone who's worked inside the Pentagon, how closely guarded is this kind of information sent by the leader of CENTCOM?
I mean, simply put, this is classified information, and that's why the commander of Central Command sent it on a classified system of what's being reported. And to have the Secretary of Defense, no less than 10 minutes later, type up that classified information and put it into, sending probably from his personal phone into both chats. It's incredibly concerning. It's incredibly dangerous because that is information that pertains to an operation that hadn't yet begun. And what he did was he put at risk the lives of our fighter pilots that were in the air about to conduct that operation, and our sailors, of course, that are in the Red Sea about to launch some of those missiles towards those Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen.
So, Sabrina, let me play for you what Hegseth said today about these comments and what he called leaks coming out of the Defense Department.
When we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols that we hold dear here at the Defense Department. Through that investigation, they have been moved on. Those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing.
He's talking about pretty heavy turnover at the Defense Department this past week, including 3 of his own aides who were ousted in a leak investigation. Is there a double standard here?
I think it's pretty clear that there's a double standard. I mean, if in fact those aides that have been ousted by the Secretary of Defense did leak classified or unauthorized information out, they absolutely should be held accountable. The Secretary of Defense himself did the exact same thing that he's accusing his aides of doing. I mean, he put classified information about an operation into 2 Signal chats, and yet there has been no accountability for the Secretary of Defense. And just, one more thing on this, in that Fox interview, the Secretary went on to say that he's constantly being briefed on war plans and operational plans. Well, it's then very concerning if he's constantly being briefed on the plans that we are conducting all around the world, that he doesn't understand how concerning and dangerous the information that he put in those Signal chats is for our fighters overseas.
So, Charlie, Congressman Don Bacon has become the first Republican lawmaker to suggest that the president should fire Hegseth. In fact, he told NBC News in a text message, and I'm quoting here, "If the reports were true regarding Secretary Hegseth, it is unacceptable, and I wouldn't tolerate it if I was responsible." I should say that congressman is a former Air Force general who chairs an armed services subcommittee that focuses on cyber issues. So he comes at this with a bit of credibility. Do you think his comments could have any ripple effect among Republicans?
Well, I imagine that there are also Republican senators who were pushed into voting to confirm Pete Hegseth, who are...
Trump's cabinet is a disaster right now. And here's the thing. Trump wants his people to be out in the media. He does. Like, he's talked about this. I remember when one of the last times Trump cabinet meeting went disastrously, Musk started attacking Rubio, saying, oh, Rubio's not doing enough to cut people in his department. And then Trump told Elon basically to quiet up, to shut up, sit down. Rubio's been great. He's been all over TV. So Trump actually synonymizes doing work with being on TV, because that's what he does. He watches TV all day. But he doesn't want you to take attention from him, and he doesn't want you to become the focal point. He wants you to go out there and be a mouthpiece for him, to take what you say and just say it again, and say it better than him, because, maybe Rubio's a bit more eloquent than Donald Trump. So you go out and you be Donald Trump, and if you're that, he loves you. The problem with Hegseth, and this is why yesterday we had those reports that they're looking to fire him. That's what NPR and other sources are saying. They're in the process of firing him, replacing him, whatever. Maybe that'll change. Is that he's taking the attention. This is why a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to make Marjorie Taylor Greene his vice president. He's going to make someone even more insane than J.D. Vance his vice president. And it's like, look, whether or not he likes those people, they're going to take attention from him, and he does not want that. So Hegseth right now is making everything about him. He is getting more attention in some ways right now than Donald Trump is, and that is always unacceptable.